Welcome back to Shadowy Secrets, where we dive into the darkest corners of reality to bring you terrifying tales that will keep you up at night. Tonight, we're exploring 3 disturbing true stories that all share one thing in common: a thunderstorm that unleashed horrors beyond imagination. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be shocked by these chilling thunderstorm horror stories. Our first story takes us to rural Kansas, where the Thompson family lived in a modest farmhouse. It was a hot summer evening, and a severe thunderstorm was rolling in fast. As the storm intensified, the family gathered in the living room, listening to the howling wind and watching the rain batter the windows. Emily, Dad, did you see that? There was someone outside. John, it's just the storm playing tricks on your eyes, Emily. There's no one out there. But Emily was certain she had seen a figure standing by the barn, barely visible in the flashes of lightning. As the storm raged on, the family heard a loud knock at the door, a knock that seemed to echo through the entire house. Mary, who would be out in a storm like this? John, maybe it was just the wind, or something else. The family tried to brush off the eerie encounter, but the knocking resumed, more insistent this time. John opened the door again, but there was still no one there, only the storm and the darkness beyond. John, whoever you are, stay away from my family. As John re-entered the house, the knocking stopped. But that night, the family experienced a new terror. The sound of footsteps echoed through the house, coming from the attic. When they finally gathered the courage to investigate, they found the attic empty, save for one thing: a soaking wet footprint on the dusty floorboards. To this day, the Thompsons believe they were visited by something not of this world. Something that used the thunderstorm as a cover to make its presence known. And as for that phantom visitor, it was never seen again. But the memory of that night haunts them still. Our second story takes us to Ohio, where the Parker family experienced a nightmare that began with a lightning strike. It was a warm summer night and the sky was clear, until it wasn't. Without warning, a sudden thunderstorm formed overhead, bringing with it an intense barrage of lightning. Lisa, what was that? Mark, it sounded like it hit the tree out front. They rushed to the window and saw that the massive oak tree in their yard had been split down the middle by a lightning bolt. But that wasn't the end of it. Just minutes later, another lightning strike hit the exact same spot, igniting the tree and sending sparks flying. Mark managed to put out the fire, but the damage was done. That night, as the storm continued, the Parkers noticed something strange. Their electronics began to malfunction. The TV turned on by itself, the radio played static, and the lights flickered incessantly. Joey, Dad, what's happening? Mark, I don't know, son, but we need to get out of here. They fled the house, spending the rest of the night in a nearby hotel. The next day, they returned home to find everything seemingly normal, except for one chilling detail. The charred remains of the oak tree stood as a grim reminder of what had happened. And inside the house, the smell of burnt wood lingered for days. The Parkers later learned that the lightning strikes had caused a surge of energy that affected their entire electrical system, but they couldn't explain the strange occurrences they experienced that night. To this day, they remain convinced that the storm brought with it something more than just lightning, something malevolent that targeted their home. Our final story brings us to Texas, where storms are a part of life. But for one family, a routine trip to their storm shelter turned into a fight for survival against something far more sinister than a tornado. The Martinez family, parents Carlos and Sofia, and their daughter Mia, had always taken precautions during storms. So when the sirens blared, they didn't hesitate to head to their underground shelter. As the storm raged above, the family huddled together, listening to the wind howl and the rain pound against the shelter door. But then, amidst the chaos, they heard something else. Scratching sounds coming from outside the door, followed by a faint, muffled voice. Sophia, Carlos, did you hear that? Carlos, it's probably just debris. The storm's really picking up, but the scratching continued, growing louder and more frantic. Mia clung to her mother, terrified, as the voice outside became clearer. It was a man's voice pleading to be let in, claiming he was injured and needed help. Carlos was torn. He wanted to help, but something about the voice didn't seem right. It was too calm, too deliberate, despite the storm raging outside. And then the voice changed. It became colder, more demanding, angry that they wouldn't open the door. Man's voice. "Let me in. Now." Suddenly, the shelter door rattled violently, as if something, or someone, was trying to force its way in. The family was paralyzed with fear, unsure of what to do. Then, just as quickly as it began, the assault on the door stopped and the voice vanished, leaving only the sounds of the storm behind. When the storm subsided, Carlos cautiously opened the shelter door, expecting to find someone or something outside. But there was nothing. No footprints, no debris, no sign that anyone had been there at all. Just the calm after the storm. Thunderstorms can be terrifying in their own right, but when something else, something unexplainable, uses the storm as cover, the terror reaches a whole new level. The next time you find yourself seeking shelter from a storm, remember the Martinez family story and ask yourself, what might be waiting outside? Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed these stories, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest terrifying tales. Until next time, stay safe and beware the storms.